Here's another in my series of holiday shows about an MLB pitcher who lived long enough to see Thanksgiving Day 1993 before passing away 3 days later. You would hope he got to enjoy some turkey at home with the family before heading up to that great pitcher's mound in the sky. I am also continuing with my on-running gag about those who love and those who hate Christmas time, and the ones that would rather die than go through another so-called holiday season. How did I come up with such an odd take? Probably while working on my Johnny Briggs show, who happened to die on Christmas. And there you go. I'll find something funny in that in one way or the other. My dad's take on Christmas season is the most direct and honest. He comes right out and just says, "I hate Christmas." Why all the hate for the holidays? Probably because of how early it starts, already with the commercials for gifts and summer barely ended. Now it's pumpkin spice everything and we're 2 months away from Halloween. It's just like the NFL trying to be relevant all year around when it doesn't have to be. Too much of a good thing doesn't make it better. I mean, I love turtle tacos and tomato ice cream, but not every day all year long. Just like Christmas preparation, do we really need 4 months when 30 days will do? Getting back to today's man of the moment, maybe he liked turkey so much that he hung on for one last Thanksgiving. But like so many others that hate the holidays, perhaps he couldn't take another month of holiday cheer and didn't want to stick around until Christmas for another dinner, knowing the odds are 50-50 it's going to be another dried out bird like the one he just ate, and would rather check out than hang around and wait for old St. Nick to bring the usual socks and undies from the bargain bin at Kmart marked irregular. This MLB pitcher is from Illinois, just like Bob Coates, his teammate who I just profiled. The difference is he came from the big city of Chicago that had a population of well over 3 million back in 1932, whereas Bob Coates came from a village of just over 300. But the real difference between the two is Bob never made it to the majors, whereas the pitcher I'm talking about not only made it to the big show, but would make not one, but 2 MLB appearances and pitched in not 4, but 5 innings while in the big leagues. Yep, his entire MLB career consisted of 2 games. I make light of his situation, but really, there are plenty of ex-ball players out there that would love to be able to say they did that because it's still better than never pitching in any MLB games at all. Because he got to suit up in a Chicago Cubs uniform, went through a big league spring training camp, got his name in a few programs and scorecards, and was on a Cubs roster for the MLB opening day. And a few days later, George Richard Piktuzis found himself on a big league mound making his MLB debut April 25th, 1956, facing the St. Louis Cardinals at their Busch Stadium. And who are the first 3 batters he will face? 2 are in the Hall of Fame, and the other should be. George Piktuzis was a lefty pitcher and is one of the rare players that bats right but throws left. Something I keep track of, like how many complete games a pitcher throws or how many hillbillies play baseball. George stands 6'2", weighs 200 pounds, and because he comes from the big city of Chicago, he's no hillbilly. He was born just after the New Year's 1932, and unfortunately he was another pitcher whose career was cut short due to arm issues. But a short career that had some MLB appearances is better than a short career that didn't. As a youngster, he grew up in Chicago as a Cubs fan, and like most kids in the area, dreamed of playing at Wrigley Field. So it was a dream come true when George signed with the club in 1950 at the age of 18, just after graduating Morgan Park High School. Well, the dream partially came true because he never got to pitch a game at Wrigley Field. Of course, George's career as a ball player lasted only 6 seasons from 1950 through 1957, missing 1953 and 54 seasons while in the service. His only 2 MLB appearances came in April of 1956, and they came 3 days apart against the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cincinnati Redlegs. And if you're wondering how he did, well, I'll tell you. It's April 25th, Wednesday night at Cardinals Busch Stadium. There's barely 3,000 baseball fans watching Cubs rookie pitcher George Piktuzis as he is put into the game to start the bottom of the 5th. The first batter he'll face is Red Schoendienst, then Stan Musial, followed by Ken Boyer. George's first time pitching in the big show goes like this. He gets Red to line out, makes Stan the man hit a pop fly, and then gets Ken Boyer to line out. I imagine George must have felt real good coming down off that big league mound for the first time after just sitting down 3 of the best in the game. So when he comes back out for the 6th After just having an inning he'll always remember, but also knowing that every inning can't go like that, and George will have to come down to earth, and he does. First batter of the inning, Wally Moon leads off with a single. Then Bill Verdon is thrown out, laying down a bunt that advances the runner. Rip Rapolsky singles and Wally Moon scores. This is probably more like what the rookie pitcher was expecting. It's not totally falling apart, it's just not going like the previous inning. Next up, Bill Sarney, who George forces into a double play and will now walk off the mound a little less confident, but probably still feeling pretty good. When he comes out for the seventh, his Cubs are still down 5-0. He'll strike out Harvey Haddix, but walks Don Blasingame, which means George has now gone through the order and Red Schoendienst is up again. This time Red hits a single. George will sit down Stan Musial for the second time by getting him to ground out. Now Ken Boyer gets his second shot at the rookie. He too goes down for the second time, this time striking out, and that would end George Piktuzis' MLB debut as he would be replaced with pinch hitter Ed Winceniak, who has a show coming up. As for George's second and what would turn out to be his last MLB game 3 days later at Reds Crosley Field, he came in to start the seventh. His 2 innings had a few highlights, but his lowlights were brighter. First up, Frank Robinson, who hits a double. He then walks Gus Bell, then George Crowe hits a home run. In his next and final inning in the majors, he gets away with only giving up a single, and his time in the show was over. George played in 2 MLB games and pitched 5 innings with a 7.20 ERA. There's a few reasons why some get sent down to the minors. A 7.20 ERA would be one. Quite a few rookie pitchers I come across had nice MLB debuts, played maybe 1 or 2 more games, and were never seen in the majors again, like George Piktuzis. Usually as a minor leaguer, your pitching record is on the positive side, especially if you were good enough to make it to the majors. This was not so for George. He had a losing record of 34-62 in his 173 minor league appearances. Not good. But for the rest of his life, he can replay that first inning pitched in the big show and talk about those players he faced in his MLB debut. And the way George Piktuzis handled them is impressive and undeniable. Also impressive, but on an entirely different level and in an entirely different league, was George's no-hitter he threw on July 21st, 1955 as a member of the LA Angels when he faced the San Francisco Seals at Seal Stadium. Was my dad at that game? Maybe. I'll have to ask him. When it comes to minor league players, they keep stats but not game logs, so accounts from some of these minor league games come from the newspapers, like this one, from a LA Times reporter who wrote this about George Piktuzis' no-hitter. The 23-year-old fastballer fanned 9 seals to extend his strikeout leadership in the league. Nothing even resembled a hit was given up by the young hurler. Angels' Gale Wade scored the winning run after rapping a single to center with 1 out. Gene Mock hit a short fly to right that should have been caught, but Seals' Wally Judnich apparently lost the ball in the heavy fog. Hal Rice fouled out, but Steve Bilko hit a grounder that struck second base and took a high hop over Mike Bax's head for a single, scoring Gale Wade. The Seals' only run came in the 7th inning on a walk, an infield out, and a wild pitch and a sacrifice fly. All above players mentioned, Dad has their autographs except for Gale Wade. Now, if you're a pitcher with arm damage, usually your career in baseball is over, and it was for George Piktuzis, who started in Class B as an 18-year-old and never looked back, always playing in the high minors during his short career. After his no-hitter in 1955, he played 2 more seasons in 4 different states, getting a look at the country. And after his playing days, George headed to Wisconsin, where he owned a cattle farm for years before relocating to the West Coast to live out his days. Could be his time with the LA Angels. He got used to the weather, or just tired of Wisconsin weather. He was in Long Beach when he passed away on November 28, 1993 at the age of 61. When talking about the deaths of some of these players, who, half the time, I have no explanation given on how they died, I never make light of their death, but to joke about death itself. If life is one big joke, then what else could death be but the punchline to what you hope would have been a fun life with lots of laughter? Unfortunately, not everybody gets to laugh in the face of death on their way out, as that is only afforded to a few. You would hope those near you would get in on the joke that is life and be there to smile with you as you pass. That's the best way, or one way. They say death is permanent. Well, so is one's spirit, essence, and aura. Those never dissipate. They remain in the ether forever.